Hello everyone, welcome to True Crime, and today we're diving into a disturbing case that shocked many. You might have heard people online claim that some criminals actually pick up ideas for their crimes by watching crime shows. Whether that's true or not is debatable, but in this story, the twist is chilling. The person accused of murder wasn't just anyone. It was a crime show host himself, accused of killing his own wife. How much truth is in this? That's exactly what we'll explore today. Back in 1998, a television series called India's Most Wanted was launched. The program highlighted criminals still on the run, broadcasting their photos, details, and descriptions of the crimes they committed. This format worked. Many of those fugitives were eventually caught thanks to the information viewers shared with police after recognizing them. The show's popularity soared, gaining massive TRP ratings. Ordinary people loved it, while criminals feared it. Threats poured in, warning the makers and anchor to stop the program, or face deadly consequences. Security was even provided for those involved. And that brings us to today's case, which centers on the anchor himself, Anju Ilyasi, a Delhi-based journalist from a respected family. He first met Anju in 1989 while both were studying mass communication. Their friendship turned into love, and despite belonging to different religions, they decided to marry. Their families, however, strongly opposed the union. The opposition grew so severe that in 1993, Anju and Anju left India for London and got married there against everyone's wishes. Anju's brother lived in London at the time, and soon after, the couple began working on the idea of a crime-based TV program. With Suhaib's television experience, he had been working as a cameraman abroad. The concept took shape. They filmed demo episodes and pitched them to several Indian networks. Eventually, one channel approved it, and that's how India's Most Wanted was born. But before the show could take off, cracks had already begun to appear in their marriage. In 1994, Anju returned to India, and frequent arguments led her to move back in with her brother in London. At one point, she even sought divorce, but her brother advised her to reconsider. She withdrew the petition and decided to give the marriage another chance. By 1996, Anju had persuaded her to reconcile, and together they returned to India. Their daughter was born in 1997, and by 1998, the show finally went on air. Initially, Anju had been featured in the demos as the anchor, but when the show was broadcast, Anju became the face of it. His hosting style quickly gained popularity, making him a household name. He became a celebrity, recognized on the streets, admired by fans, and financially successful. But despite the show's triumph, trouble was brewing in his personal life. Arguments between him and Anju resurfaced. Anju even moved to Canada to live with her elder sister, but once again, Anju followed her, convinced her to return, and in 1999 they bought a flat in Delhi. Meanwhile, India's Most Wanted was smashing records, forcing extensions far beyond the planned 52 episodes. Anju even secured roles outside the show, including in a popular film. With fame came new dangers. Criminals threatened his life, and security guards were stationed at his residence. Then, tragedy struck. On January 10, 2000, just days before Anju's birthday, she was found in their flat with stab wounds. Anju claimed she had harmed herself after an argument, first attempting to shoot herself but being stopped, and later stabbing herself in the abdomen. He rushed her to the hospital, but she didn't survive. The postmortem was conducted by 3 doctors. 2 labeled it suicide, but 1 disagreed, stating the injuries suggested homicide. His reasoning was clear. A person attempting suicide could stab themselves once, but repeating it with the same force would be nearly impossible. Suspicion fell back on Anju. Investigators raised more questions. Why were there bloodstains in multiple rooms if she collapsed near the door, as Anju claimed? Why were her clothes undamaged despite stab wounds? And why did it take nearly 50 minutes to reach a hospital just 25 minutes away? At first, Anju's family supported Anju, believing it was suicide. But when her sister from Canada arrived, she accused him of dowry harassment and claimed he was abusive. She also said Anju had confided in her about being unhappy and afraid. Anju's diary, later found, echoed these claims, describing her troubled marriage and desire to leave. In March 2000, Suaib was arrested, not for murder, but on charges of dowry harassment and abetment of suicide. He was later released, but the case didn't fade. Anju's mother eventually demanded that a full murder trial be pursued, pointing to the conflicting medical report and alleging Suaib silenced his wife because she knew damaging secrets about him. What really happened in that Delhi flat? Was it suicide, or something far darker? The court initially refused Anju's mother's request to treat her daughter's death as murder. In 2005, she asked for the case to be handed over to the CBI, but that appeal too was rejected. Nearly a decade later, in 2014, she approached the Delhi High Court. This time, her persistence paid off. The High Court ordered that a murder charge be added against Suaib Ilyasi. Suaib filed his own petition in response, but it was dismissed. In 2017, after years of back and forth, the court found him guilty and sentenced him to life imprisonment for Anju's death. But the story didn't end there. On October 5, 2018, the High Court overturned that verdict, cleared him of the charges, and set him free. And with that, the long and controversial Anju Ilyasi case came to its dramatic conclusion. Now, let's shift to another shocking story, this one from Kerala. There was a man named Shibin Ashraf, born into a family with very little means. To survive, he drove an auto rickshaw and even worked as a cleaner. Around that time, many people from Kerala were migrating to the Gulf in search of better opportunities. His mother also found work in the Middle East, leaving Ashraf behind to earn a living as best as he could. Then, without warning, Ashraf vanished from Kerala. It was later revealed that he had joined his mother abroad. For a few years, both lived in the Gulf. When Ashraf finally returned to Kerala, he was no longer the same man. His lifestyle had transformed dramatically. He launched multiple businesses, hired young men, and gifted his employees luxury items, cars, expensive gadgets, and more. Within just 5 to 7 years, this man who once struggled to earn daily wages had become the owner of property and wealth worth more than 3,500 million rupees. People were baffled. They remembered him as a poor rickshaw driver who barely managed to eat. Now, he was a millionaire. Naturally, questions started pouring in. How did you manage this, Ashraf? What's your secret? Ashraf told them a story. When he was in the Gulf, he became friends with a wealthy sheik. Their bond grew so strong that the sheik made him a partner in one of his oil businesses. That, Ashraf said, was the reason for his riches. People believed him. It seemed plausible. After all, many sheiks were known to be extraordinarily wealthy. With this explanation, Ashraf's rise was accepted, and his ventures continued to grow. He opened new businesses, provided jobs, and lived a life of prestige. Meanwhile, far from Kerala, in Mysore city of Karnataka, another unsettling story was unfolding. On August 2, 2019, a respected 60-year-old doctor named Sabah Sharif disappeared. Known throughout Mysore and even neighboring towns for his unique treatments, especially for curing piles, he was considered one of the best. His medicines were said to be based on a secret family formula passed down through generations. By then, Dr. Sharif wanted to pass on this knowledge to his children. But on the evening of August 1st, a man appeared at his home claiming that someone gravely ill needed the doctor's urgent attention. Sharif himself wasn't feeling well and initially refused, but the man insisted and pressured him into leaving with him. That was the last time his family saw him alive. When he didn't return by the next day, his wife, Jabina, grew alarmed and filed a police complaint. She told officers that her husband had been taken from the house against his will. The Mysore police opened an investigation, but found no solid leads. Days turned into months, and months into years, yet nothing surfaced. Sharif and Jabina had 9 children, and the family lived in despair, hoping for his return. But the investigation eventually slowed down. For 2 years, there was silence. Then, in 2022, out of nowhere, Ashraf's name surfaced again. This time, in Kerala, he went to a police station to lodge a complaint. He claimed that 3 of his own employees had robbed him, stealing 700,000 rupees in cash, along with other valuables including a laptop filled with highly sensitive documents. By this point, Ashraf was known as a wealthy businessman and a non-resident Indian. So, when he went to the police claiming his own employees had stolen from him, the authorities took the matter seriously and launched an investigation. The three names he gave were Shahuddin, Nishad, and Narshad. Within days, two of the men, Shahuddin and Nishad, were caught. But Narshad managed to avoid arrest. When he realized that Ashraf had lodged a theft case against him, he panicked. In April 2022, Narshad attempted suicide along with a few companions, declaring that Ashraf was framing him for a crime he hadn't committed. He even threatened to set himself on fire at the Secretariat unless the police investigated fairly. The local police intervened before he could carry out the act and eventually handed him over to the authorities handling Ashraf's complaint. Now all three men were in custody. But instead of staying silent, they turned the tables. They claimed Ashraf wasn't a victim at all. He was the real criminal. They urged investigators to look closely at how a man who once drove an auto rickshaw had, in only a few years, amassed property worth nearly 3,500 million rupees. Check where it came from, when it came, and how, they insisted. What the men revealed next left police stunned. Ashraf, they said, was responsible for murder. And not just any murder, but the killing of a well-known healer from Mysore, Dr. Sabah Sharif, a respected practitioner whose remedies drew patients from far and wide. The Kerala police immediately cross-checked with Mysore authorities and learned that Dr. Sharif had indeed gone missing in August 2019. With that confirmation, Kerala investigators dug deeper. They soon arrested Ashraf and confronted him with the accusations. Realizing that his associates had already spoken, Ashraf confessed. He admitted that his fortune wasn't built honestly. He had been running extortion rackets, threatening people, kidnapping for ransom, and stealing. Later, he formed his own gang. When he heard about Dr. Sharif's unique family formula for curing piles, a remedy that attracted patients from across the country, Ashraf became obsessed. He believed if he could get the recipe, he could sell it in the Gulf for massive profits. Ashraf tried repeatedly to convince Dr. Sharif, offering money and promising favors. But the doctor refused each time, saying the formula was a sacred family legacy to be passed only to his children. Frustrated, Ashraf devised a sinister plan. On the evening of August 1, 2019, one of Ashraf's men lured Dr. Sharif away from his home under the pretense of treating a critically ill patient. Instead, he was taken to Kerala. For the next year and a half, Ashraf's gang tortured the elderly doctor, beating him daily and demanding the formula. Despite the abuse, Dr. Sharif never revealed it. His health declined, but he stayed firm. Finally, in a fit of rage, Ashraf brutally assaulted him. The beating proved fatal. Realizing the doctor was dead, Ashraf summoned his men. Together, they dismembered the body and dumped the remains in different rivers to erase every trace. For 2 years, no one knew what had happened. When police finally uncovered the truth, they had the heartbreaking duty of informing Dr. Sharif's family, who had been waiting all this time in the hope of his return. The revelation shattered them. They never had the chance to perform last rites or say a final goodbye. Ashraf and his 3 associates were arrested, and what began as a simple theft complaint spiraled into the solving of a gruesome murder. Ironically, had Ashraf not filed a case against his own men, the secret might have remained buried forever. And so, the Sabah Sharif murder case came to a chilling close.